What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Brand+Shred. This guy doesn't even need an introduction. Like, he's one of those guys that you see his smiling face and you can't help but smile. You can't help but to get excited. I get it. He's one of those people, like, literally, there's a lot of people that I've got great relationships in the industry, but when Joe and I hang out, good things happen. I'm just saying that. Like, we're actually working on this. Actually, when this airs, it'll be after, but you and I are actually doing a weekly show together called Shredding Social, which, guys, if you haven't checked it out, go join we have two exclusive groups, one on Facebook for all you Facebook fans, and we have one on LinkedIn. I'm literally plugging our own thing before I've even introduced Joe, but that's how pertinent this is. But I'm so excited to have our guest, Joe Wilson, CEO and co-founder of SocialCoach, joining me this morning. What's up, brother?
Dude, first of all, bringing back LinkedIn groups. This has not been a thing. Who does LinkedIn groups anymore?
Nobody does.
I think it could still be a thing, and LinkedIn's going to be happy that you are involved with this. So,
dude, I was going to say, we're going to make it a thing. And because nobody does them anymore, LinkedIn's going to be like, oh my gosh, these guys are doing a group. Boost it. Get it out to the world. People want to see this thing. So, but here's the thing. Like, you guys want to be part of this just because, again, what you and I are talking about, Joe, like we're going to be talking about on the show today, it's all about building a brand. It's about establishing a brand and going into 2022. Attention is everything. Attention is the new currency. 2022 is a year of attention. And if you're not thinking about it, and if you're not doing it, not just thinking about it, but actually doing it, Joe, you're going to get left in the dust.
Well, if everyone else is doing it and you're not, that's the biggest thing, right? And dude, we're in a change world. So you got to figure out how to do this. And if you don't, like you said, you're going to get left behind. And it's going to be sad for you.
Let's talk about it. I mean, when you think of, let's just dive right into it. When you think of brand, like when you think of when the word brand comes to mind, what's the first thing that you're like, yep, this is what brand is to me?
Brand is what people say about you when you're not around. Who are you? What is the thing that you are? What do people say about you? And it could be something good, it could be something bad, but you don't actually own your brand. You can help create it, but it is something that naturally happens to you because you're out there and you are who you are.
Oof.
That's it. I don't know.
That's like I say it, you and I are along the exact same page. I was speaking at a conference this last week, and literally when they ask what is brand, I'm like, it's what people say about you. It's not a logo, it's not the slogan, it's not a hat. Like, it's who you are. It could be a hat. Like, you are who you are. And it is, like I said, or what you said perfectly. What are people, when you finish the transaction, when you finish whether it's mortgage, real estate, insurance, car sales, what did that person, when they're walking away, what are they saying about Joe? What are they saying about, like, man, like, that guy gets it? Or like, he truly was, he was valuable. He was insightful. He was like,
he's kind of a huge nerd, but I, for some reason, kind of like him.
I kind of like the guy. He's like this lovable teddy bear that I just felt like he gave me this hug, and I felt so comforted by him. But that it really is like, that is what a brand is. And that's why I think it's so underestimated and why it's so powerful, is because, I mean, especially in the industries that you and I have been in for so long, mortgage, real estate, it's all about relationship. And your brand is essentially that. It's like, what trust, what confidence, what are you building with your relation, the people around you? What are you building with your network? What are you building with your audience? If you don't have a brand that people are just like, man, like, he's a good dude, I like hanging out with him, I like spending time with this guy, then your brand is essentially like, it's meaningless.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, Josh, and I think we ought to talk about it a little bit more. But you said something. You said your brand is like your relationships, and that's so. I mean, in mortgage, in real estate, in technology, in literally anything, your relationships with people are what gets you all of your business.
Oh yeah,
and particularly in mortgage and real estate, right? I mean, you think about it. How do you get everyone? Loan officers and realtors love to say, "Oh, I don't, everything is word of mouth," and that's how I get all my business, which is more than likely very true. But
sure.
How do you get those word of mouth referrals? It's from your relationships. And how do you get your relationships? It's from showing up and being involved with other people's lives, whether that's digitally, physically, mailing it in, whatever it is. But you have to show up and you have to be there and you have to be a participant of a relationship. And the sad thing is, and I actually was talking to my teenage kids about this, because a lot of teenagers are want to do, they're like, oh, I didn't get invited to this party or whatever. And it's like, well, what are you doing to show up and to invite people to hang out with you?
Dude,
What are you doing? It has to be
wow.
everything, and relationships are all on you. Nobody else is going to be there and invite you. You have to do the inviting. You have to be the one to reach out to that realtor to invite them to lunch. They're not going to invite you to lunch. You
No.
have to be the one to show up on social media, create content for others to engage with you. You can't just do the engagement. You have to be the person that shows up and people want to be around you. And if you don't show up, it's not going to happen.
Dude, everybody go rewind the last 2 minutes and listen to that. Like that was so like that was literally one of those moments that is pivotal in parenting, in business, like in everything. Like literally that was like, I'm thinking about my own kids as you're talking about that, Joe. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I'm thinking about my relationships, like even with our spouses and with our spouses with their relationship. I'm like, holy crap. Like, because it's funny, my wife and I were even talking about this. You have friends come and go in your lifetime. And it's like, you can't always be the one putting in 100% too. And plus, you don't want those, you surround yourself with those people. But at the same time, you have to be the one. You're the one in charge of it all. Like, and if you're not willing to show up, which goes perfectly into what I want to talk about in a second, is building a brand. Yeah, you have to be consistent, but it's with a relationship. Like, think about your relationship with your spouse. Like, if you're not showing up consistently, they're going to go somewhere else. They're going to find a better place, somebody who can care for their needs and take care of them a little bit better. But like what you're talking about, Joe, with this brand in particular, like you have to show up to where they, again, so they know that you're trying, you're putting forth that effort. If you just put out one post saying, hey, yep, I'm here, like I'm good, like they could care less. You got to consistently show up. So how important is that? Let's talk about that more. How important is consistency when it comes to building a brand?
Dude, this is going way back now, too long ago, but I got my degree in advertising and public relation. And the one thing, you learn a lot of good stuff in college, and a lot of it's also just not very good. But one of those things that has just always stuck with me from that advertising world is the psychology of people understanding and actually seeing a message and wanting to interact with it. And it's called frequency. And the frequency of your message is so important to be able to have people want to or see who you are, and then also be able to take action on whatever it is that you're trying to get them to do. And that magic number, and this is forever ago, so maybe that number has changed, but I just looking it up recently, it seems to say the same. And then number 7, if someone doesn't see your message 7 times, they're not actually seeing it.
Yep.
And so if you think back to like, how often you've been posting on social, is someone seeing your message 7 times? And here's the thing is, just because you posted something doesn't mean somebody saw it. I might not have been on social media for a week, or I might not have the algorithm changed, and I haven't interacted with your message because you haven't been consistent on it before. So maybe I haven't actually seen what you're doing. But if you show up every day, or a couple times a week, and you're consistent, then you will actually start showing up onto other people's feeds. And if you're showing up on their feeds and you're showing up regularly, and they finally start to, you're cutting through the noise of everything else that's out there. Finally, just finally, if you're lucky, your message will break through to somebody who you're not really currently engaged with. And that magic number apparently is 7. So you got to show up all the time.
The magic number 7 for all our craps friends out there. You never want to crap out playing 7, lucky 7s, but it is like you and I have talked about this before, that number. And it's so funny that we talk about that number, and you kind of alluded to this, but you and I have both seen this. Just because you post 7 times doesn't mean like people are going to see that 7 times in a row. People are not going to algorithmically, just the way social media platforms work, to get those 7 imprints, to get those that 7 pieces in front of people, or those 7 touch points, if you will. You might have to post 30, 40, 50. Like, how many times do you actually have to post to get those 7 imprints? And that one, honestly, I have no idea. We've tried to get a better reading of that, but you just have to be consistent. The underlying message of this, Joe, is be consistent with it. Continue to do it. And then after that 7th time, where people are like, fine. And even sometimes it takes more than that. Sometimes it is more than that. They're like, like I said, it's an average of those 7 times. So you just have to keep doing it consistently. And people are like, oh yeah, that's right. Joe over there, SocialCoach. Oh yeah, he's been saying that. That's beneficial. That's useful. That's helpful to me. And then they might take action.
Dude, you and I were just talking earlier about, people that you and I both know have done business with in the past, that if you reach out to them, they still don't even respond, even though they like you. And so it's like, okay, it's like, all right, I emailed them one time and they didn't get a response. Like, no sales manager ever would say, yeah, okay, you did it one time, you're fine, right? You get out there, you make another
Good
phone
job.
call, you
Right.
keep on going. Gosh, I mean, this is crazy. All right. So if you talk to any sales manager ever,
Sure.
okay, and a good one, let's just say, all right, a good sales manager, and ask them how many times you need to reach out to somebody to make a sale, right? And talk about that, or the consistency of doing your dials or reaching out or emailing or text messaging or whatever. If that's just one time or a few times and you're not consistent with it, it's not going to happen. The same thing goes for your social media strategy. You have to be consistent. You have to make a decided effort to be successful on social. This is not something that you can just dip your toes in the water and just have an instant overnight success. That's not going to happen. Just with
Mm.
anything in your business, you have to put in the effort. You have to have a strategy around it, and you have to be consistent.
Dude, this is actually really interesting. And I'm actually, now that we're actually talking about this, I'm going back to my very early days of being an originator.
Yeah.
And I used to get these, for anybody who remembers the days of Lone Bright leads. If you were in the business back when Lone Bright was a big deal, that they used to sell leads like at mass. And when I first got started in the business, that's how the guy who trained me, how Jeremy like taught me like to get started. He's like, he would give me these stacks of Lone Bright leads. And he would say, hey, dude, you got to call these a minimum of 3 times. And I'm like, okay, like 3 times. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take this to the next level. I'm going to call these people 10 times. And I literally, like, I can see it in my head now on these pieces of paper. I had these check marks of like, if I didn't have 10 red check marks on those
I
pieces of
love that it was
paper,
printed out.
I know, like, dude, right? Like, I wouldn't move on. But I started very, very quickly. My conversion ratios were going way, way up. Like, I was the only guy. Because sometimes some of the people in our office, they made those 3 calls and they threw them. And I would actually even be the guy to go pick them up. When those guys were with the rest of our team members, they were throwing those ones away. I would go pick them up. I'd be like, I'll keep calling these people. And that's when I started to see a ton of success. Is like, I'm going to stay consistent. I'm going to keep calling these people until they tell me to knock it the hell off and stop calling them. Like, stop calling my number, or until they picked up the phone. And there's a lot of argument people who are like, oh, the first or the second person to get hold of this person, they've got a 92%. And I think that's the rate, is that you have a 92% better chance of closing that person. But sometimes it's just the person who is the consistent the longest. Like, who's going to who's willing to work the hardest to get that deal done? Now there's a whole conversation argument of like, well, efficiency, blah, blah, blah. But it was being consistent. It was continuing to show up. And I think more than anything, it's funny because as I want to start transitioning this conversation, I started to find my voice as a mortgage professional, as a mortgage advisor. The more and more I talked to people, the more and more conversations I had, the more dials I made, I really understood who I am. And that's what I want to talk about here next, Joe, is like, when it comes to a brand, you and I have seen this. Like, people will make that one post. Like you said, somebody will make one post and they expect the world. But it's not until you and I have made, between the two of us, I think I could comfortably say we've made thousands of posts. Like it, and even still, we're still finding out who we are, like who we are as a brand. Like, how does staying consistent help you find your voice and who you are?
That's oh, dude, I love that question so much, because I was thinking about this over the weekend. So I've got my personal Instagram account, I've got my LinkedIn. I'm more of a LinkedIn guy than anything,
Sure.
but Instagram's fun and I do it for fun. But it got me thinking a lot about my LinkedIn stuff. But anyway, let me start with Instagram, because you might find this interesting, but you might think it's dumb. So stop me if you think it's dumb. But on Instagram, it's historically, going back to 2012 when this first started, I was on there posting pictures of my kids. It's always been about my family, our activities, mundane things are happening. Got some crazy kids that like to do some fun, just dances and crap like that. But I love to tell dad jokes too. And so I started posting some dad jokes on Instagram Reels, and a lot of them were major flops. But I have one that has just like taken off over the past like 2 weeks. It was something I posted a couple of weeks ago, like maybe even a month ago. And then all of a sudden the algorithm picked it up and it's getting like several thousand views an hour right now. It's like crazy. That's hundreds of thousands of views right now. And this is a whole other side conversation that we can get back to, is that's doing nothing for me other than vanity metrics of I've got hundreds of thousands of views. It's translated to no business effort or whatsoever. But it got me thinking, like, okay, if I were consistent on telling dad jokes and I could replicate this this one thing that went viral and continue to do something similar, maybe that could happen, right? And maybe not. But if I look back at all the posts that were successful versus the ones that were not successful, I could start to see a trend of what I did, how I did it, and how it was successful. And I could build off that and continue to do better things. And it's the same thing with LinkedIn. There are methods of posting on LinkedIn that if you're consistent with them will do really, really well. Things like
100%.
having pictures with people. Anytime I post an image or a video with Josh Pitts, it goes crazy, right? But every time I start to talk about what SocialCoach does, no one cares, right? But here's the thing: is again, those vanity metrics are just that, they're vanity. What's interesting is I might get a lot of views, a lot of likes, a lot of comments on image with Josh, but it's sometimes that happens. Even though I get only maybe 5 likes, 15 likes, 20 likes, or whatever on a business post, I might get a message in a DM saying, "Hey, Joe, I just saw your recent post and I want to learn more." They didn't ever like anything, but they are seeing what you're posting, and you're getting the attention from all the different types of angles. And when you do post business content, if you are consistent, you keep on doing the right things, you're going to get the business that you need out of it.
Dude, what you're talking about here, I think so many companies, like this is so relevant because companies are always asking, well, what's your reach? What's your impressions? I honestly, and we're convinced, my team is convinced, I'm sure you're convinced because you've seen it as well as we have, but metrics in particular do not accurately reflect the amount of people that are seeing your posts. That they may say, oh, this many people viewed or saw, but people are scrolling, people are looking, people see. You may have friends of friends that are seeing. The algorithms are all playing all over the place. It's impossible to track them, even when you are talking to the right people or know what to be looking for doing. Like they're just random at times. So being consistent with the post, and like you said, I literally, this is no joke. I was speaking this last week. I referenced your LinkedIn, like I had people pull up your LinkedIn profile because you post things like so many people think that LinkedIn in particular is a business centric. Like you can't post anything outside of business, which I totally disagree with. Again, we're like, yes, we're professionals. We're founders of companies. We're CEOs. We're executives in the space. But at the same time, we're human beings. So like there's still things. So many people are like, oh, you have to post business all the time, or if it's not sales related or driving traffic or driving business on LinkedIn. I'm like, no way. And I literally, that's why I referenced you. And I had people pull up your profile. I'm like, look at the engagement that Joe gets. Look at the people that are commenting, that are being part of Joe's life. And it's not professional, if you will, but it's Joe. We are in particular, we're professionals. That's just what it is. So this idea of like, what we post on these different social platforms, dude, number one, I think it's bad. It's like badass that you're doing dad jokes with your kid. That's awesome. Like that's so,
but it just works for me, right? It doesn't, that's not gonna work for everybody. It's not, that's not the strategy for you to do it. It's just the strategy is be you. And the strategy is be you all the time, everywhere. Be you on LinkedIn, be you on Instagram, be you on Facebook. And that should be the same across every single channel. And 100%. You can reflect, you can change your message slightly. Like the message I have on LinkedIn about dad jokes is completely different than the message I have on Instagram, right?
Oh, for sure.
It's because my audiences are different on those. But the message, the overarching message is the same, but the way you deliver it is slightly different.
Yeah, no, I 100%. And that's just it. It is a little bit different. People always ask me like, do you post the same stuff on Facebook that you do on LinkedIn, that you do on Instagram? And I tell people when you're first starting out, sure, it's a great, but as you get better, as you improve, as you find your voice, as you find that brand, then no, like they are definitely a little bit different. Like you said, you're not going to post the exact same dad joke or in the same way that you would on LinkedIn, that you would on Instagram. So, but I always tell people that will come with time. Like perfection kills progress. Just start. If all you have time for right now is being able to put the same content on the different platforms, then sure, do that. Because I always tell people, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go. Finish your thought. Sorry.
I always tell people like it's better to get something out there than nothing.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And this is what I love for people that are just starting out. Like what you and I are talking about is, we both have an extreme passion for social media, and we have an extreme passion for being out there and doing this. That's our part of our personality. And so it works for us, but it doesn't work for everybody. Not everyone is like you and I. And you and I are very different. We have very different styles. And That's great. Everyone has, you're always finding people that like what you're doing, and people can like 10 different types of people. And that's perfect, but just be yourself. But there are a lot of people who are not comfortable online. There are a lot of people who are not willing to put in the work to do, you know, a video or whatever. But that doesn't mean that you can't benefit from social media, and you can't benefit from posting, like you said, the same thing on every channel. You can do that as well. But
100%.
here's the thing, is that should be automated for you, right? Your company should be helping you stay consistent and get that kind of baseline of posts out there so that you are consistent. And so that when you are consistent, the algorithms on the different platforms are going to recognize that, oh, Josh is a player on our platform, we should show his content more often. And then when you
100%.
do post something that is personal, that is relevant, that is about your family, that is more of your personality, then you will be able to have a much greater view of what's happening. But so I think there is a lot of value in consistent posting of just regular posts, just to get your
Yeah.
name, your face out there. Because again, it goes back to frequency. So
Yep.
it gets back to, like, I need to see people need to see the Shred Media name. They need to see Josh Pitts' name, Josh Pitts' face, even if it's not authentic content, right?
Sure. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And this that you mentioned, having companies, we see the world of technology and tools and the utilization of these like continuing to grow. There's so many shiny objects that, you know, people get distracted with this and that, but having the right tools, technology is our best friend. Sometimes we look at technology as an adversary, almost like, oh, you know, is it going to take over our jobs? Is it going to take over the world? And, you know, one day robots may take over the world, but until then, we have to see tech as our like as it's another piece for us to like be more efficient and using the correct tools. Like I don't want to like pitch SocialCoach here, but SocialCoach is like brilliant. Like, and what you just said, the more frequently you can show up and consistently you can show up in people's feeds and have an automated tool to help you with that. Like that's what the future, like, again, yes, you need unique content, video content, audio content, whatever that may be. But at the base of it, at the foundation of it all, like using the right tools to help you show up more frequently is critical.
We have automation in every part of our businesses, right?
Yeah.
We have email automation campaigns. You've got all sorts of different things. So like, why not have some sort of automation involved with your social media presence? As long as it makes sense and you're not looking like an idiot, it should be pretty good.
No, and that's just
Yeah.
it. It's like it does help, but like ultimately the automation of those tools, I'm a huge fan of automation. Like that's one of those things is how do you balance that though? Let's ask that because this is really good. Like, how do you balance automation and actually being there? You're probably the best person to answer this more than anybody. Like, how do you do that? There's a fine line there. How do you balance it?
Yeah, dude. I think everybody's different. Each company is different, and so each company gets to decide how
Sure.
they're going to help their LOs, their realtors be consistent on social media, and how they're going to help them automate it.
Hmm.
But most companies, at least that I interact with on a regular basis, what they're doing is they're saying, "Look, let's get everybody up to this base level of like posting
Mm.
consistently, maybe 2 times a week. Sometimes they're getting out there and being overly, not aggressive, but just really wanting to put out a lot of good content and doing it 3 times a week and saying, look, I got your back, Mr. LO, 3 times a week or 2 times a week. And then you got to just get out there maybe once a week. And I'm going to tell you what to post. I'm going to give you the idea of what to say. But you still have to show up and you have to be present on your own feed. And maybe that's a video with Josh. That's a lot more, authentic than just a regular static post. But combining all these things together is really, really important. You can't have one without the other.
No.
You have to have, there's no way, maybe not no way, but let me digress for a minute. Okay, so love Gary Vee. He's out there. He says a lot of great things, but I think he stresses a lot of people out.
Oh
He's
yeah.
saying how you've got to be up there, 80 times a day, posting yourself and do all these things. There's no way that 98.9 or 99.9% of the people in this world can do what he does because it's his whole business. But you have a business of doing loans and slinging houses and selling software, whatever the case is. So you've got to find a way to be consistent without being present every day.
Ooh.
And if you can do both, if you can be present a couple times a week, once a week, whatever it is that you can actually commit to, to be consistent and be authentic and put out really good content, that's how much you should do it. Right? Whatever that number is, you should do that. And just start there. And then maybe over time, you'll get more regular. But whatever it is, wherever you're at today, just start with what you can do and then automate the rest of it. And then you can pull that back as the other side of your house can fill in.
Dude, that's huge. You just freed so many people. Like what you just said, people are like, oh my gosh, Joe just gave me permission. Like, I don't have to be Gary Vee. I don't have to post 20 times, 80 times a day. Dude, I remember when he said that. I was at a conference that he was speaking at, and he said, he's like, somebody asked him, like, how much should I be posting? He's like, 100 times a day. And he's like, and even that is not enough. And I'm like, the normal even you and I do this for a living. Like, social media is what we do for a living. And even then, it's like, it's absurd to think about how much that would take to be able to create that much content, to be able to post that many times a day. Like, it would be more than a full-time job. But that's why I love this balance between automation and reality or actuality, like whatever you want to call it. But you said something that was so critical to the piece is, I think you do have to show up. You personally have to show up for part of it. You cannot have a system or a tool be 100% automated for you. Because if it is, like, again, we go back to how you started this podcast. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in a room. A computer, even as smart as AI and technology is right now, until it gets even smarter, like, people know when Joe is saying something. People know when Joe is posting something. They know, they can see the difference. Like, so I think you have to be willing to put in enough. Like, you have to be willing to, show up yourself. And maybe it's one post a month or one post a week to start. That's not asking a lot. The tools, the automation, that's helping you be in front of those 7 touch points that we talked about. You have to show up once a week. That's not a lot to ask. Plus, like, you're given, like, you have a script, you know exactly what to say. You just go and record and put it out there. Like, man, this in particular, it's just crazy. And more than anything, what you just said is more freeing than anything. People are like, you know what? I can do once a week. I can commit to once a week right now. And you just have to commit, start there, and then it will build eventually.
Hey, Josh, and even if it's once a month, just do that. Just do something.
Sure.
And I think that's, there's this, like, mindset of, oh, if I'm not going to be perfect at it, might as well not do anything. Just start. Whatever it is, just do it. And then you'll get better over time. Don't stress out about it. Stress is your roadblock to success.
Oh, man.
Let it go.
That is so key. Like, stress is, I know when I get stressed, like when I get like all panic, like I know I have to do something, like, the more and more I stress I get about it, the less I want to do it. So it's just like, don't worry about it. Like, just do it. Find your rhythm, and it'll eventually come. Everything we talked about today, like, you'll start to find your voice. You'll start to find your cadence, how frequently, and it will actually become something. And I know for me, I don't know how it was for you, but when I first started, it was hard to do, like, doing a live every single day with a new guest. It was terrifying. Now it's fun. Like, I enjoy the heck out of it. I get to talk to all kinds of fun people. I never know where the conversation is going to go. I mess up all the time, but that's okay. Like, it is me, and it's okay to be that way.
And that's who you are, and that's perfect.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's me. It's who it is.
People already know you're going to mess up, Josh.
Yeah,
everybody knows that. It's like, and everybody messes up, and everybody already knows what you look like, how you sound, how you're going to act. Yeah, and they still like you.
And
for you, it's very surprising they still.
I know, right? That's kind of weird. Like, well, I got lucky there. I must be doing something. But that's just it. Our friends hang out with us because they like us. They don't hang out with us because we're a mortgage or real estate professional or whoever. Like, because that's the content. That's not why they hang out with us. They hang out with us because they like us. That's what your brand ultimately is. I want to ask, as we start to wrap things up here, one thing that you and I have seen just a ton of success with is building the right team. I mean, I'm going to shout out to my team. I mean, I've got Justin, I've got Dal, I've got Nicole. I mean, I've got just so many people. My wife's a huge advocate or support of everything I do behind the scenes. But building a team is critical to your success, critical to your brand, and critical to really not only being consistent, but focusing on your audience, your goals. How important is building a team in this day and age?
I can't think of anything more critical than that. Is having the people around you that are aligned philosophically, are aligned, that you want to even just hang out with outside of work. I think that's one of the important things, is you have to be just in a groove that make sense for everybody. And we're in a situation where everybody's winning. And that's I think the biggest critical thing is you can't take advantage of people. There's no way to cheapen out on things that's going to have any impact on it. There's such a big trend right now in outsourcing to a VA on the other side of the world. and for some menial tasks, that's a wonderful thing. But I've also seen some people set up their entire business on these things, and it just does not work. Having people and I shouldn't talk about that too negatively because I'm sure there's somebody out there who has figured it out.
Sure.
But me, I haven't. I think having a team around you where everyone wins, where everyone's on the same page, where everyone knows exactly what they should be doing is so incredibly important. And I feel really lucky to have some amazing people around me, both on the Social Coach team, but also just in the industry, our clients that we work with, working with you. You name it. You want to work with people that you like, that lift you up, that help inspire you to do better every day.
Dude, I think, what you said right there is so brilliant. Because sometimes we think of our team as just the people who are like within our organization. Like, do they work for us? Are they are they part of that team? But our team is the extension of the people we surround ourselves with. Like you, I consider you part of our team. Like the things that we're working, the collaboration, like the positivity that you bring to me, that ultimately affects how my day is going. That's part of my team. Like my partner, like my clients, the people we work with the people we choose we want to, because they bring that positivity. Like they bring the things that we want in our lives. So man, what you said, Joe, that was big. Guys, you can go back and listen to this episode multiple times, and there's so many little snippets of what Joe has said that's just like, dang, this guy's smart. This guy's the guy I want to hang out with. This is the guy that makes a difference in my life. So
you're hilarious.
Well,
tell me what you think. I want to hear your perspective on hiring and building a good team.
Team is everything. Like that's why I have that sign, like teamwork makes the dream work. When I first found that sign, I was with Dal and I found that sign. Dal's, everybody knows she's been with me she's been with me for multiple transitions, from like the daily LO life to when we were doing a coaching program, and now to here. Teamwork, surrounding yourself with the right people. And here's what I would say is people evolve from where, and I'm using Dal as an example, from where a team member started, they evolve, they get better, they improve on different elements, and they can transition. I remember I went from being a junior LO to being a branch manager. Like we hone in our skills. I always tell people, if you find somebody that you really can trust, that you can rely on, that you can count on, that is willing to lay down for the better of the team, if they don't fit their position now, don't get rid of them. Find a new way to adapt. Find a new way for them that they can grow within your. That's what makes a true leader too, is finding somebody that you're just like, hey, you know what? Now you've exceeded my expectations in this role. It's time to find a new opportunity for you here. And my team, that's why I know you surround yourself with the same people. Teamwork is everything. But I see you and I, like the teamwork, the team that we're building and we're creating together, and the partnerships that we're creating, you and I, with other clients. Like,
yeah, that's cool.
It's everything, man. Like, and it's just fun to have that type of like camaraderie and collaboration. So teamwork's everything to me. So I love it. I'm excited. With that, I want to start wrapping things up. We're just over 30 minutes here. Your time is incredibly valuable. You and I are working on so many things. Like I said, guys, I'm going to plug it again. Go check out our shredding social groups on LinkedIn or on Facebook. Joe and I are going to be in there once a week sharing, like we've talked about today, but we're going to be getting tactical on some of this stuff. We're going to be sharing some really deep stuff. We want to see you guys succeed. We're going to be sharing best practices. We're going to be sharing the things that we have seen to be successful. So make sure you go join those groups right now. So you don't miss a single post, a single opportunity to grow your business or your brand. So with that, okay, my favorite way to end this show, I've got a good friend over at Poddex. This is not a sponsor. I just love, guys, if you need an idea for a conversation, or if you need an idea, go check out our friends at Poddex. Like, they do a phenomenal job. So some of these are really random. These are almost, have you ever played Cards Against Humanity, Joe?
Yeah.
They're not that crazy. Like, somebody's like, hey, you should do those cards on your show. I'm like, that would get really interesting real quick. But got a couple of random questions. We're going to sort through the cards, shuffle them up here, and then we're just going to get to know Joe a little bit. Okay.
And we did not talk about this before. So
no, I say this is not planned. Like I said, I shuffle them up. I shuffle them. So you guys that's completely random. So first one, oh man, I like this one. Oh, this is good. I'm excited to hear. Did you have a favorite teacher or a teacher who made an impact on your life?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. So in high school, all right, and you're gonna just be like, yeah, classic Joe nerd stuff.
Nice.
So in high school, I did all 4 years I was in yearbook. So I just like I've always loved like graphic design, journalism, all that kind of stuff. And I had a teacher there. She was the same teacher all 4 years of high school, Mrs. Govnick, and she was just one of those women that is just so cool and so caring and so loving and just really like took me under her wing and helped teach me how to design, how to plan for deadlines, how to make all these, make everything out of it. And my senior year, I ended up being the editor in chief of the high school yearbook, and it was really cool. So there were leadership skills that she taught me, how to take command of a class and to organize all these different things, how to design, photography, using computers at the time, like remember those iMacs that were like
Oh
the
yeah,
colored
dude.
ones?
Yep.
We had like it was lined with the colored iMacs everywhere. And those are design skills that I still use today. They're leadership skills I still use today. And it was awesome. I love it.
Dude, this is literally not planned, ladies and gentlemen. The one teacher who had it, I was in yearbook all 4 years as
Were you
well.
really?
I literally
No
was.
way.
I 100% was. And I literally, like, the relationships that I built, some of the friends that I made, and Deanne Haslam, shout out to Deanne, who has since passed. She is an amazing person to me, but I was going through some rough things in high school, and Deanne was like, she was one of those people for me that was like a rock. Me and my sister, my sister, of course, introduced me to her. My sister was in yearbook with me the first couple of years until she graduated. But Deanne was like a second mom to me at school. Like I went and hung out at her class when I was having a rough day or when like just something wasn't there. But she taught me so, dude, when you said the iMacs, like I remember walking into yearbook and like it was just filled with like the most random colored iMacs, like the huge, like they were just giant. But that's where I learned my love for photography too. Dude. I remember like she gave me a camera. It was an old Rebel. She's like, gave me this Canon Rebel, and she's like, "Hey, this camera is like worth more than your life. Do not break it." And I broke it. Like I legit broke it at a football game. And I came back to her and I was so scared. And she's like, "What did you learn from this? Like, what was the lesson you could take away from it?" And I'm like, I should have done this. I should have done this. And she's like, "Well, there you go. Let's get another camera. Let's move on." And I was like,
awesome.
"Oh, so dude, that's so funny." That is like, ladies and gentlemen, Joe and I, it's like we're brothers from a different mother. That's crazy. But yearbook was mine.
Funny, Josh, is my older brother and my younger sister were both in yearbook too.
There you go.
And we were in there together. It was hilarious. It's like a family thing. And my daughter now is doing it.
Oh man.
It's
taking on the family tradition, man. I like it. Okay. Second question. That is so funny. Look at that. We didn't even know we had that in common. And there we go. Hilarious. Second thing. What do you keep on your I like this. People know, anybody who knows me, this is gonna be a funny one. What do you keep on your desk or workspace area that boosts your mood?
Hang on. Well, this is the biggest one right here.
Yeah, family. Love it.
Family is literally everything. I keep a pretty clean desk, so yeah. that's like it. I've got some like just fun quotes around the office that I've got like a little SocialCoach sign, but today's a good day is a sign that you've got teamwork is dreamwork. Today's a good day, and every day is a good day, and it's like you just gotta just have that positive attitude all the time. So
I love it.
Family and just keeping positivity. That's my life.
The family's good. I have my wife made me the family mouse pad so I can see the mouse pad of them all the time. They know I'm always on the computer. My other one is and people know, they've seen pictures. It's my poker chips. Like I just sit, and when I like, because of my ADHD, and sometimes people actually Dal and just there, he just sent me a meme. He's like, it's the poker chips. I guarantee it's poker chips. But I will sit and I'm on calls, and sometimes even on a show, people won't see me do it. They have no idea I'm doing it on the side, but it helps me focus. It helps me stay calm. Mm-hmm. Like it helps my mood like big time, especially when I'm like stressed out or anxious. I can sit and shuffle the chips. And sometimes we actually have had people that are like, do you hear that noise? And I'm like, what noise?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No. So my poker chip. Here. No noise here. Okay, last question, and we're gonna let Joe get out of here. If you were going on a road trip, what are the 3 must-haves you couldn't leave without? 3 must-haves for a road trip.
Going on a road trip with the 3 must-haves. Okay, number 1 is just a giant bag of pretzel sticks. I don't know why.
Ooh, yeah, like, pretzels.
It's just like you always have to have pretzel sticks.
I love pretzels.
That's
Wait, are you
one.
a fan of Dots pretzels? Are you like one?
Dude,
No?
no. Just
Okay.
straight up rolled gold,
Gotcha.
and that's
Pretzels.
just something that every road trip I ever went on as a kid, we had those, and I always keep those. That and you gotta have the Stanley
Drink.
mug,
I
the
say
big 40
gotta have
ounce.
the drink.
That's gotta be filled up. And
What's your drink of choice? What's in that mug if you're on your road
this
trip?
this always and forever is water, and then depending on what needs to happen that day. And those like Mio drops, like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
flavor it. And they've got those Mio with the caffeine in it.
I
So
know
instead
that.
of drinking like a Monster or whatever, it's like I'm hydrated all the time and highly caffeinated as well.
There you go.
So
Nice.
that's that. And then number 3, of course, is the fam. You got to have people in there that you want to enjoy the ride with. And that should have been number 1, but I was getting too tactical there. But it's got to be the people you're with on the road trip is the most important part of it.
Dude, I think that is like, because when most people think about this, they're thinking about like, oh yeah, I need this and this little this object, but the right people, like my family, friends, like that's who I want on my road trip with me. Who's with me? Who am I hanging out with? If I'm going on a road trip, it's going to be somewhere fun, so I better have the right people with me. I'm right there with a drink. Anybody who's ever done any type of road trip with me knows like I'm a big Rockstar fan. I drink a ton of Rockstar, like so that's probably in my drink with me. But I'm a huge fan of Coke Zero.
I
Love Coke
love the
Zero,
Coke
man.
Zeros.
Dude, I'm all about the Coke Zero life. I'm stopping at the Maverick here in Utah, doing a little Coke Zero with vanilla in it. That's my jam. And then the third thing, snacks. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Pretzels, I'm like, meh, but I like Gardettos, the Gardettos like munchie mix. So, yeah,
There
dude,
you go.
all about some Gardettos. I love the
There you
salty.
go.
Are you a sweet or salty guy?
I'm a salty guy.
Yeah, me too.
Salty guy.
100% salty.
Yeah, it's fine. But okay, so Coke Zero, really quick.
Yeah.
Have you tried the Dr. Pepper Zero?
Dude, I haven't. I have so many people are like, oh, you gotta try Dr. Pepper Zero. And I'm like, really? Is it really that good?
It's literally gonna change your life.
No. Okay, I'm gonna go get one today. I'm gonna go do a story. I'm gonna do a story. I'm gonna go to Maverick. I'm gonna go get a Dr. Pepper Zero. Try it out. We'll see if Joe's. Is it really? All right, I'm gonna go try it. Do they have it on tap now? Oh, tap.
I don't know. I always you have to get the cans.
Okay, I'll try the cans. Maybe I'll go try that. Go stop by the local Smith's, pick up a can of Coke or Dr. Pepper Zero and try it out. Okay, it's going down. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a ton of fun. Joe has shared so many insights. Go back and listen to this. I promise you it's going to change your life. It's going to continue to start making you think about what you need to be doing. Next year, 2022 is a year of attention, and you need to start implementing these things. And Joe gave you so many brilliant shares today. So huge shout out to Joe. Go check out SocialCoach. Go check out Joe's social media pages because, again, he's a great example to follow if you really want to improve your game. Joe, you're the man. Thanks so much for being here.
Go check out Shredding Social on Facebook and on LinkedIn.
Let's go. Shredding Social, guys, every single Tuesday. You can see Joe and myself in there live. We're going to help you build your brand. With that, guys, as always, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for all of you to go shred, go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See ya. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much again for joining us on another episode of Brand+Shred. I hope you got as much value out of this episode as I did. And if you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you don't miss a single weekly episode with the incredible guests that we're bringing you to help you build your personal brand. Click that subscribe button, share, and even leave a comment. We appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you next week on another episode of Brand+Shred.